Jonathan, welcome.
Thanks.
Yes, yes. So, everyone, this is Jonathan Ogden, right? Yeah. Amazing. Yes, he is a Manchester born singer songwriter with a background in graphic design. Okay, we're going to talk about that too. Amazing. And he is previously the lead singer of the band Rivers and Robots, one of my favorite bands. They're great. We are so excited that you're joining us here at Media Academy in the Czech Republic.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. So I am a pastor's kid, grew up in church. My dad was a church leader, so I've grown up in church all my life. Part of a very big family. There's seven of us kids, and I'm the youngest one, number seven. And I think I was very influenced by my older siblings a lot. So I had an older brother who was a worship leader, another brother who was a DJ, another brother who was into like I guess kind of 80s, like very Manchester music. My dad was into like a lot of folk music and acoustic kind of style, and so I just grew up with like lots of music in the house and always loved it. And I think growing up in church, I don't know if anyone else has had the same experience, but I think there's that point where you feel like you know a lot because you kind of grown up in that environment, but it has to become real for yourself, you know? And I think there was a point when I was in my kind of middle teenage years, I want to say like 14, where I really decided that I want this faith to be my own and not just what I've inherited from my parents. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily like a big dramatic moment where I can say that day that thing happened, but I think just being in church and being in that environment, I remember just slowly like my heart kind of connecting with the words that were very familiar to me, but they started to become real to me. And I found myself like singing these worship songs and suddenly feeling everything that I was singing. And I just knew that this meant everything. And yeah, from a pretty young age, I just said, okay, I'm giving my life to Jesus and I just want whatever I do to be for his glory. And I didn't know what that would be or what it would look like. But yeah, it's just been a journey from there of just growing more in knowing who God is. And then I feel every few years there comes around a time where God like completely blows me away again. And I realize
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
even what I thought I knew of him, I didn't know. So I feel like spent most of my childhood like becoming a Christian over and over. It wasn't like a one moment and
A relationship, right?
yeah. Every time there would be like an altar call in a meeting, like I would go down like every time when I was a kid. Yes, sign me up again. But yeah, it's been a journey.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I for sure can relate to that of growing up in a
Mm.
Christian home. Can you guys relate to that? That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I for sure can relate to that of growing up in a
Mm.
Christian home. Can you guys relate to that story, some of you? Yes, I hear nodding heads. Yes. So, we're talking all about creativity this week and how we as creatives in the church space, in ministry, like how do we bring that beauty to what we're doing in the local church? And
Mm.
so for you, like where did that like love for creativity come from? Was it like first like music was a big part of your family growing up? And then like when did like graphic design come into play and
Mm.
writing songs and all different kinds of stuff? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think to be honest, I've always had it. I don't know necessarily where it started out from, but I've just always loved to make things. And right from when I was a kid, I used to cut out like cardboard boxes and pretend it was a TV, and I would just like act out like TV shows inside the box. And like, I found my older brother's little tape camcorder, and I used to make short films with toy soldiers and like just. I was just always creating really random things. I think I was very drawn by animation. I loved Pixar movies. I loved like Studio Ghibli movies. And so I think part of my dream was like to tell stories through something visual. And pretty much all the way through childhood, I thought I'm going to be an animator. I'm going to work at Pixar. And then, yeah, that gradually shifted into loving graphic design as a way of like visually creating things as well. And then, yeah, music for me was just more of a passion thing, more something I was just drawn to in a hobby kind of way. Never expected that would be my job to make music, but yeah, gradually ended up in that world. So,
Did that
yeah.
first start with more songwriting for you or
I used to start with, I played in my church band. It's one of the things of being a pastor's kid, I guess. You got roped into everything. Basically, any instrument we needed in the band, I would try and learn and try and fill all the gaps. And then I think when I was 17, I started to lead worship just in our like youth groups and the prayer meetings and that kind of thing. But even before that, I really liked music production and I just used to teach myself from YouTube and I would make remixes of like pop songs and very into like electronic music growing up. Yeah, I was always kind of dabbling in music production world and songwriting, and then I was writing like comedy songs, and then eventually like connected everything together, and I was like, okay, I like to lead worship, I like to be creative, I like electronic music, and maybe I can do all of that in one go.
No,
Yeah,
that's cool. I hear you saying a lot like you tried a lot of things. And I
yeah,
think for
definitely.
a lot of us in this room, we've tried a lot of things like, oh, I've
Mm,
done a little photography, I've done a little video. Oh, I need to do social media. Oh, I think I should start a podcast.
mm,
That's what's so cool about the creative world is that you can like learn anything and
mm,
keep learning
mm.
and like dabble in all different kinds of creative arts and have them work together.
Yeah, I think the multiple lanes thing is kind of underrated. I feel like I grew up with the pressure to pick one thing, specialize in like I am this, but I think that's part of being creative. Almost every creative person I know has a side project or three side projects.
Yeah.
There's just always that desire to, oh, maybe I can try this now and can try this.
Yeah. Even
Part of the
here
fun.
at this media academy, we've carved out space called like project hours or project time where it's, I know
Mm,
you have other things that you're working on that you're just not here for this week and you forget your whole life that's happening, but
yeah.
also to have that space where you're in a whole room with other creatives to speak into that, to your
Hmm.
work and get feedback. So that's been a cool part of this time together as
That's
well.
great.
Yeah. And you
Love it.
have a ministry, it's called Magnify Studios. And what I like about that ministry is like you provide training and resources for Christian artists to make beautiful things for the kingdom. And that's
Mm,
literally what we talked about tonight during our evening program was that God cares about the beautiful things, like he's literally
mm.
made everything. So yeah, I would love for you to share more about Magnify Studios.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the idea for Magnify came about a long time ago. Before I was doing solo music, I was in this band, Rivers and Robots, as you mentioned in the intro. And I think when we first started out, we kind of felt like we were too weird. And we just thought we're trying to combine all these styles of music and it's Christian music. And we we just felt like we didn't fit. We felt like it sounds too different for church, and then it sounds too Christian to go in like mainstream venues. And so we felt a little bit in between. But then the more that we started to share what we were doing and travel around and do things, we just met a lot of people who felt the same and a lot of other artists who wanted that space to push out creatively and I guess wanted an outlet to do that in a way that like still points to God and is still like very upfront Christian, but without having to like necessarily do it on a Sunday morning in church or go full mainstream and not talk about the Christian side. Yeah, we just had this idea of can we build some community around that? And as we meet these artists, can we just create some space to talk about that journey and what we've learned from each other? And yeah, we originally had a ministry called Set Sail, which kind of rebranded into Magnify. We originally had a ministry called Set Sail, which kind of rebranded into Magnify.
I was a part of
Um,
that newsletter, so thank you.
yeah, oh, cool. So yeah, basically we never like found necessarily one specific outlet, but we just would do a whole variety of things. So we had a little podcast for a while. We did in-person workshops. So we've done those in Europe and Asia and one in the States. And then we do some online workshops. So we have a songwriting course that we sell online, and we have a Discord server that's just full of, I think there's about 2,000 people in there now, just Christian creative kind of people. And yeah, it's really just about reminding each other that we're not alone in this journey and trying to share our resources and just be like, we're here and we're doing this too, and we're learning, and hopefully we can
Yeah.
learn together.
No, that's real. That's been the heart behind even doing a media academy
Mm,
because there's a handful of us here who work on the Josiah Venture International Communications team. And then we
yeah.
realized, oh my gosh, we were meeting all these people who love photography, who love social media, who love
Mm,
podcasting. And then to get together and talk about those things with other Christian artists is like so encouraging. Have you guys been encouraged by this time, like being with each other? Yeah, it's caused like great conversations and just you're like, oh, you too, you have that struggle with social media, you have the love
mm.
hate relationship too.
Oh
Great, let's
yes.
talk about that. Yeah. You too, Jonathan, you have a love
Of
hate
course.
relationship.
I always want to throw my phone into a lake every week.
Yes, I wanted to do that multiple times.
Yeah.
But speaking of like social media and having that love-hate relationship, I'm literally leading a social media intensive this week at Media Academy. Like
Mm,
for you, how do you see how social media like connects to the like your heart behind making beautiful things for the kingdom and even that
mm,
like the promotional part of it and
mm.
stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I feel like right now I'm definitely more in the hate territory of social media, in the love-hate spectrum. But it has been an amazing tool as well. And I think I try and see it like community in a way. And I know it's never going to replace in-person, like being with people, but it is a connecting point. I think it's a could be a top level connection of just it might be the way somebody discovers what you create, or it might be a way to build a deeper connection with the things that you've made and the people who are engaging with it. So I find I'm using social media for both things. I'm like, my main heart is just to create great music and point people to God through that. And I want to create good visual experiences and all that kind of thing. But I think social media is just my way of connecting to say, it might land on someone's homepage that's never heard my music and it might be their first intro. Or for the fans who like really what I do and want to follow along, then I give them more. Here's what the song actually means, or here's how I made it, and here's a bit of the life behind the art that I'm making. And that's been really good. I've met some of my best friends through social media, and it sometimes goes on to be great connections with people. And I find it makes more sense when I do something live, like a concert, because often you post things and you just see a number, right? You're like, okay, this many people viewed the story, and but I think when I get in a room with people and people actually show up, then I realize, oh, these are real people on the other side of these numbers, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I get a glimpse of the type of people who are out there engaging through a screen, and then that motivates me to keep going and just realize, oh, people actually, real people see the things that I'm posting. It's not just some algorithm. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Those are
um,
real people. If 1,000 people liked a post or something, and can you
right,
imagine 1,000 people just like showing up at your house one day? Whoa, that's a
yeah,
lot of people.
I don't
Hello.
have the space for
Yeah,
that.
I don't have the space for that. So we're gonna open it up for questions here in a minute. So get ready, all of you out there. But also, what are you working on right now that you're excited about?
Right now, I am in the middle of an album rollout. It's actually two albums, but I'm not. Right now, I am in the middle of an album rollout. It's actually two albums, but I'm not telling
Oh,
people
two
that.
albums?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm working on this project called Night and Day. So there's going to be these two albums. Night is very introspective. It's like a kind of a journey through a heavy period of time, like grief and navigating all of that kind of stuff. Very personal. And then Day is a lot more of a brighter, like outward looking, kind of ready to face the world again album. So at the moment, the Night album is done and it's coming out in September. So I'm in the middle of just like promoting that and getting ready for tours and that kind of thing too, making lots of video content. Yeah, I always forget that when I finish making the music, there's like a lot of work in getting it out
Yes.
there as well. So I'm in the middle of that.
Promotion,
Yes,
distribution. All that.
exactly. All the fun
Well, before
things.
we open it up to the audience, I have one more question connected to even you have a new, like a new, two new albums coming out. Very exciting. But how do you seek God's direction when starting a new project?
I think it's a mixture of like obviously taking time to pray and ask God what's on his heart and what he wants me to share. But I also feel like I find it like halfway through most of the time. And I think I trust that God's given me gifts to be able to create and to make things and to feel what I'm feeling and like sense what's the right direction to go. And most of the time when I make an album, I don't know what I'm making at the start. I'm just writing a song and then writing another song. And this time last year, I still didn't know what I was trying to make. I was just I had this huge folder of all these different songs and they all felt very different to each other. And I was almost frustrated because I didn't have a concept or I didn't know like how am I packaging this and releasing this and what's it about and what's it trying to say. And then I was just reading a book called Anam Cara, so like a Irish author, and it spoke about this concept of night and day, and night being a way that we rest and where we heal in the night because we're sleeping and that kind of thing. And it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
hiddenness in a beautiful way of like space to think about the deeper things, and then how night was like visibility and freedom and all these kind of things. And so just hearing that concept, suddenly like everything clicked, and then I opened up my folder and I was like, oh yeah, that's night, that's day, that's okay, this makes
Yeah,
sense. So
it's sorted
um,
now. Yeah.
yeah, which did feel like an answer to what I've been praying for over the months, but sometimes it's just a moment you don't expect, and then you're like, there it is, I've got it.
Yeah,
It
a good
lands at
reminder
some
that
point.
sometimes the clarity comes along the way as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. Yep, yep.
Okay, people, who's got some questions for Jonathan Ogden?
I can start off with one. Hi, I'm Jacob.
Hi.
Oh yeah, introduce yourself too, and you.
Yeah, fan of the music.
Thank you.
But one question I had, I mean, I'm a graphic designer. I love seeing your album artwork. But the question I have is, what inspires you?
Good question. I think design-wise, I've always loved design and music together. So graphic design was my first full-time job, and music was always my side thing. But I think I've always had a way of listening to something and kind of seeing it at the same time, and just knowing like when I hear this song, I think of these images, or I think of these colors and this kind of style. And so a lot of my graphic design work that I got into was album art because I would work with other artists and do that for them. They would send me their album, and I'd say, okay, this when I hear this, it looks like this for me. And I'm very inspired by a lot of collage artists. There's a studio here in Manchester called Dr. Me, just DRME. And it's all like cut and paste, just like taking old images and collaging it together. And I don't know, something about that process just makes sense for me. I feel like that is creativity for me. It's just like I'm taking some of this and some of this, and I put it together, and now it's something new and it works in harmony. Yeah. So a lot of my own album covers are collage style, or I lean into like just simple photography where I am really drawn to like an image that just has a mood and an environment where I'm like, that's what I want this to sound like. But yeah, I do also work with other artists. So this album I'm doing now is with a French illustrator called Marine Bouffard, and she's just amazing at like these kind of spray digital images that are also animated. And I like every album I do, I make a Pinterest board and I'm like saving visual references. And I found myself just saving her artwork so many times that I was like, maybe I should just ask her.
You just asked her, you just reached out and asked her?
Yeah, I found her work because she followed me on TikTok, and I was like, she's really cool. And I found like,
collaboration. There you go.
yeah, there you go. And then I was like, okay, she probably knows who I am, so I could probably ask. So she said yes.
She said yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Other questions
Thank
out
you.
there?
No problem.
Hi, I'm Lauda. I'm from Latvia. And most of us, or all of us in this room, we also serve in a local church. So, how would you say you serve your local church through media?
I initially didn't think that I could actually. I think I was involved in the worship team and I would help out there, but I always felt like my creative expression or me being an artist was like outside of church. And partly just because of the style of music I was doing, I just didn't think it would work in church or people would sing those kind of songs. And it wasn't until I saw other people do them and I'd see YouTube videos of some local churches singing songs that I'd written, and I was surprised myself. I was like, oh, you can sing these and it works. So seeing other people do my songs actually encouraged me to do my own songs. Yeah, there's a few that I started to bring into my local church and I would lead them on Sundays. And I also like doing graphic design growing up. I would help out a lot with the design of the church too. And like I was, it was a kind of small family church. I think I was the only person who knew design in the church. And so I did like the logo, the website, the flyers, and the monthly program, and all those kind of things. Yeah, we didn't do much social media. We were not cool enough for social media at that point. But I think our church has one Instagram post, and it says "Happy Christmas 2013."
I can relate to that.
That's our social media output.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Any other questions out there? We got one.
How's it going? I'm Tom from Czech Republic. I'm just wondering about the narration. Like, how do you think about that in terms of, not just in terms of music, but let's say the whole package, right? Like how things look like visually, and then when it comes to different kind of format, how do you tie all of that together in terms of narration? How do you narrate?
Good question. I think I am very drawn to concepts. And like I said with the album thing, sometimes I don't find that until halfway through. But I think once I do land on something, I try and really build out the story of it too. So I think about an album I did called 24, which was like a beat tape that had 24 songs based on the 24 hours in the day, which started as just a fun concept. But then I started to think, okay, what kind of Bible verses would apply to this? And I was drawn to, I think it's Psalm 19 or 90 something, the one about the heavens declare the glory of God. It says like, today and tonight declares his works. And yeah, I just realized there was something in even the times of day and even like the sky that shows us something of who God is. And in the same way that I do with visuals, building up a mood board, I'm always like building notes of what's the story I'm telling through this album. And then that spills out into everything. So it comes into the YouTube content that I make. I might like literally narrate on that, or I might have like, at the moment I'm doing lots of Substack. So I'm writing blogs about the songs that I write. And then obviously breaking that down into like reels and even the live experience. Like the most recent tour that I did around my album, we had the Bible verse of Revelation where it talks about like the throne room of God and like this very visual imagery. So we literally started the concert with like black stage and just the text, and there's like a voiceover reading that verse. And then it goes into the intro, and then we end the concert with the same thing. It fades to black, and then the end of the chapter is projected on the screen. Yeah, there's nearly always a verse or a theme that I'm just like, that's the story I'm telling through this whole piece, and then that kind of ties everything together, even though it's very different types of content and expression. It has one like narrative, if that makes sense.
He said, cheers, thank you. Anyone else have something they want to ask, or you can keep thinking, and I've got more questions too. Real quick, while they're thinking, what advice would you give to other Christian creatives who really want to glorify God through their art? Because I know for me, sometimes I've learned lots of things and I still have got lots to learn, but sometimes I get into this, I know what I'm doing, I got this, or even like bringing glory to God, not only through what I'm creating and doing, but how to glorify God through the collaboration piece as well, and like how you bring other people into your work.
Yeah, I think the main things that I have had to learn were just around, it was almost more internal wrestles that I had. I think it sounds really basic, but learning to be like fully loved by God. Because I just realized so much of what I was doing was actually seeking validation. I was trying to make something that people would like, and then the nice things that people would say would help me feel good about myself. And then it just meant my worth and value was like way too attached to what I was making. And if I got bad comments, then I'd feel terrible. And if I got good comments, I'd feel good. And it's a daily thing, really. But I always have to learn to just be like so rooted in God loves me at the beginning before I've made anything. And I can make a great video or a bad video or a great song or a bad song, and God still loves me. That doesn't change anything, which just frees me from this need to like perform for people or create from a way that is going to be the source of how I feel that week. And in the same way, like the comparison thing, I think just when you're in that mode and then you start looking at other people and everyone's really finished packaged stuff while you're trying to make something and you're in the middle of the process, can be really discouraging and even draw you off track to think, oh, they're doing this, so should I be doing that? Or this seems popular now, so should I be following that trend? And I think just having that kind of quiet confidence to like know what you have and what God's given you and just create in your voice and with what you have to say. And people feel that. I think they feel the authenticity and they can tell when you're trying to perform and when you're trying to just hop on some kind of trend. Yeah, I think that's been the biggest challenge of my creative life, is just learning to know that I'm loved by God, and then trust my own voice in what I create.
Yeah. No, something I've enjoyed as someone who has followed your music and your Instagram account for a while now is just your authenticity. And just like, you have authentic music, and I can tell it comes from a place of you love God and you love what you do. And so I think that's important for us all to remember of, oh, I'm deeply loved by God. He cares about what I'm doing. He cares about what I'm creating. So great. Let's go and create.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyone else? Questions for Jonathan? Oh, we got one over here.
Thank you.
Can you stand up real quick so he can... Yeah, there
Hi.
you go.
My name is Nia, and I wanted to ask you to tell us maybe a story, if you have one. I know when like you're writing a song, and especially about God, that sometimes he might surprise you with something new that he wants to teach you about himself. So do you have like a story of something that was even surprising for you to learn and to write a song about?
Sure. Yeah, I think one thing that's been a surprise for me recently is that I can learn about God in my own story, if that makes sense. I think I used to have a very like black and white way of seeing things, that songs about God had to be like, or the more spiritual songs, maybe you could say, were like all from the Bible, all like mention Jesus all the way through, and it's very like direct to him. And I still love songs like that, and it can be a whole debate over like worship music, right? And it being too personal or all that kind of thing. And so I understand that discussion. But I think I bought into that idea so much that I thought my story had nothing to do with my songs. And I think recently it took actually doing some like homework. So I took a songwriting class 2 years ago, and it was just learning how to get better at the skill of songwriting. And so we were given homework assignments to 1 week to write a song using this kind of rhyming scheme or like this kind of imagery. And then as I was writing that song, because I had no expectation of, oh, this needs to be a Jonathan Ogden song, or this needs to be like a new worship song, I was just writing for fun, that I found a lot of my like life and my experience was like spilling out in this song, and it just became this very honest storytelling song of what was going on. And then I wrestled with it a lot because I was like, I don't know if this is okay. And this is so different to what I normally write, and it's not directly like about God. But somehow in that process I found that God was like so in it, and it just taught me that like God's interested in my story, and he's interested in actually like the human parts of us and the feelings that we have, and the like whatever it is that we're going through. Like in that case that song was about loneliness, and just realizing like God's interested and he wants to be in that conversation about loneliness, and he wants me to like bring things to him and process my story and think about that things, but like in him, in relationship with him. And the more I've been doing that, I just realized like God is in everything. Like it sounds very obvious, but I had such a narrow view of this is a Christian song, or this is how to write about God. And then I'm suddenly realizing, oh, I can write about the sky right now, or like his creation, and suddenly find something of God in that too. And I don't know, that sounds very hippie, but like I'm just like realizing that God is in so much of our journey. And sometimes it takes
everywhere.
yeah, it takes not doing the thing we've always done to see God in a new way. Yeah.
No, that's good. We were talking today how even when you're starting a video project, starting anything, or in the middle of something, have you talked to Jesus about it? Like I literally have a sticky note next to my desk that says, "Just ask me, Jesus." Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
good.
see it all the. I'm like, oh, have I asked him? Even to direct my work for the day, because sometimes it can seem so scattered and things like that. So that's important to remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Oh, yes. Oh, hold on. Step like the phone can
Yeah?
see you.
Is
So
that better?
a little bit more, a little bit more. Come
Really?
on. Henyo, come on front.
What?
Right here.
There we go.
Okay, so my name is Henyo and I'm from Czech Republic. However, I lived in the UK for 1 year, so I'll try to speak with a little bit of British accent. Actually, not far from you in Southport, if you've ever been.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that's where I grew
a
up.
great place to be. All right. Really? All right. Okay. Here we go. My question is for your relationship with your church. I'm really curious if they see you maybe as a missionary in the creative world, if they like send you out and they support you and they're happy for you, or maybe there's a little bit more struggle, not understanding. I think some of us might be struggling with maybe feeling a little bit like an outsider because other people don't understand us. So I'm just curious about your relationship with church and how you guys view each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've had the church I was in growing up is different to the one I'm in now, so I've had two different experiences. But my church growing up was very, I think they were supportive of what I was doing, but also didn't understand it at all. So it was mostly a small family church with 80% grandmas, I would say, who are very sweet and lovely. But yeah, I'd go on tour with my band and do 12 concerts in a couple of weeks, and then come home, and it would be the grandmas on Sunday saying like, "How was your holiday? And did you have a nice time?" And I was like, "It wasn't really a holiday, but okay."
My job.
Yeah. And I think they just knew me as like Jonathan that grew up in the church from being a kid and that helps lead worship on Sunday sometimes. And I had to do a few like actual presentations to the church, like when they highlight missionaries and that kind of thing, and literally show them like, this is what I do and I'm not here on a Sunday. And these are like the stories. I think that's one thing that really helped was like just reading stories of what came back. Here's a comment that I had on this song of like someone who got really impacted by what I created. And here's like the story somebody told us when we did this concert in this place. And once people heard that, I think they started to understand it a little more. Yeah, I think the church I'm in now is quite big and yeah, it just has a lot more creative people in it. It's just a very like creative place. So I think they're pretty aware of the way God's working outside the church as well as inside. But yeah, it's still sometimes a strange dynamic, and I fully know what you mean about not feeling fully understood or yeah, recognized within the church. But if it helps, there's lots of people who don't feel understood. So you're not alone in that feeling. So.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Do you have other people who like work with you on a full-time basis, or like even with promoting your content, or more like musicians I know work with you? How does that work?
Yeah, nobody full time. So I've had like people help me with admin stuff for periods, and then I've built teams around tours specifically. So I'll have like musicians and management and all that stuff, but it's just for one tour that we do. So it's a season, and then they go back to their lives. So it's much more like one-off collaborations. Yeah, you know, and it's just me and Google. This is the world.
This is the world we live in.
Hello, Jacob again. I have a technical question.
Sure.
This afternoon, we were talking a lot about how AI is impacting our creative workflows. I'm curious, as a musician who really values sharing your story and being authentic and sharing the gospel at the same time, what's your posture with AI? How have you interacted with it? What are your thoughts?
I'm like very anti-AI.
You want computers making your songs?
No, not really. No, I mean, like anything, it's a tool, I understand. And like I have used it and I've found like some useful things in like research ways, or I guess it's like the chatbot kind of stuff is in a way more advanced Google. So I can just, hey, bring me all the information about this topic and it will like digest it in a nicer way. I do get angry about the AI music that's being generated. And yeah, a lot of stuff that I feel like AI should be used to do all the things that humans don't want to do and should free us up to do the things that we do want, like creating and making art and beautiful things. And I find it strange that we've used AI to do the creating instead of freeing the humans to do it. But wait, I forgot the question. I'm just going to rant.
AI, do you like
No,
it?
that was great. No, we don't disagree. Just
Okay.
so you're good. We don't disagree.
Good. Yeah.
But no, I do think it's going to change a lot and it will continue to change a lot.
Yeah.
But I think what's authentic will still always stand out. And I think in a similar way to like when music went very digital, then like physical kind of came back, and like concerts are more popular now, like vinyl records are more popular now. Like I think people reach for something that feels more human when it gets more digital.
Yeah.
And I think a similar thing will happen. I think everything will get hard to believe what's real, and we won't know if what is online and the people we're following are even real people. And then I think people will be drawn into the more human experiences and the more probably in-person stuff too. So just trying to stay authentic, and I think that will always connect.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, there's a question over here. You can stand up if you, yeah.
Hi, my name is Agnes. I'm from Latvia. And I was wondering, what has success been to you when you started in the music industry, and how has it changed over the years?
Great question. Okay, to be honest, I had very low goals. My music, my initial goal was like put some songs on Facebook and let my friends hear them and my family, which of course happened very quickly. And then I remember there was one venue, like a concert venue in my city that's holds about 100 people, but it's a really cool space. And I always said that's my dream. I want to play in that venue and do something. And then my band ended up playing there like a month later. So I was like, I need to start setting different goals.
Dream bigger,
But
Jonathan.
dream bigger, that was it. But also, that it's been that way. I feel like I've not really, everything that's happened has felt like it exceeded what I expected. And so I'm always just surprised and happy that anyone's engaging with it. But I think very intentionally try and have a different measure of success, that it isn't around external factors. Because I think when your definition of success relies on other people, I want this many views, or I want to grow my channel to this size, or get this kind of response from things, then I'm dependent on other people to decide if that worked or not, which kind of feeds into that same thing of like validation and depending on external things about whether I feel good about what I'm doing. And so I prefer to set goals that are more like measurable in a different way. So more about my internal thing. So I'll say, I really want this album to tell this story and like be a mixture of expressing grief in a real way, but also a lot of hope. And that's my measure, is can I communicate that and will people receive that? So that's when I know I feel like I've succeeded, when I can listen to it and feel like, yeah, I said what I wanted to say in this project. Or maybe it's, I want to create an experience that's really beautiful, like audio and visual and like in the room and the lighting and everything like that. And it's just something that's I want to create and do. And so when I get there, I feel like, yes, that was what it was meant to do. But yeah, and I guess also just in the kind of, as a Christian, I feel like our definitions of success are by default very different. And it's really just like obedience to God. It's like doing what he's called you to do and just walking that out faithfully, which can be so different for everyone. That's why you can't set one bar of success and say, we all have to reach this. It's what did God give you to do and who does he want you to reach? And it might be 1 million people, it might be 5 people. Like, success depends on what he's leading you to and being obedient to that. So I just try keep listening and keep following.
Follow Jesus, know you're loved by him.
Yeah. The simple things.
The simple things in life we always have to go back to.
That are somehow the hardest. Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Oh, Lucas has one.
Should I stand? I suppose I'll stand up.
You guys stand up
Yeah.
and move a little bit this way so he can see you.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
There we go. How do you? My question is, how do you get through, like, when your creative work gets hard and gets difficult? Like, you're like middle of a song, and I haven't finished this song for months, but I need to finish this song. How do you get through creative
burnout or something? Creative burnout or
sure. I think I quite often run on the fuel of inspiration and joy. We don't always have that privilege because sometimes there's a deadline and there's a budget and you have to work to certain constraints. But I think when there is space and when there's time for it, I'm trying to be led by what I'm finding the joy in. And part of that meant I was okay with letting ideas go. I used to feel like I can't write the next song until I finished the song I'm doing. Whereas now I have like folders and folders of unfinished songs. And I'm okay with that. I like to just create something until I feel like, yeah, that was what I needed to do at that point. And then I've had songs that have just stayed in a folder like that, and I'll revisit them like 2 years later. And every time I've listened to it, I have nothing, no ideas. And then suddenly, after 2 years, I hear it one time and I'm like, oh, I've got a chorus now, or I know what to do next. And yeah, I always find if I'm making an album that's 12 songs, there's probably 30 songs that I write for that. And a lot of them will just filter away. I find that I'm not listening to them as much and not as excited about them, or I just never find the finished piece for it. And I just have to be okay with letting it go and moving forward with the ones that just feel natural and feel like, yeah, I'm having so much fun making this. And every time I get in my car, I want to listen to this one. I know it must be good. But sometimes it's just like when I need to push through, then I have little simple things I'll do. I'll try and take a break from it, go a little walk. I'll try and like actively get inspired, and not just in like listening to more music, but going to a gallery or like watching a great film or anything that just feeds that like creative part of my brain. Because I just think creating something is like breathing. You've got to like breathe in, breathe out, and you can't just breathe out all the time because you'll run out. So sometimes I very actively have to like go and get inspired, like what's inspiring me right now, and filling that creative tank I see as like part of my work. Yeah.
It's part of the ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have another question.
Jacob with the
Go for it.
questions.
Only out questioned by Gwen. No, so you're making a lot of stuff. You're doing a lot of trial and error. Where do you go, and who are the people you look to for honest feedback?
Ooh.
How do you get that before you send it out to the world?
I think multiple things. One of them is just like time. I can tell when over time I just get less excited about an idea, that I always just try and sit with something for a while and make sure that I still like it in a few months. And then I do have some friends. I have some like other musicians and producers. I'm part of a little WhatsApp group in the UK for music producers, and one of my best friends is a producer as well. And we have a Dropbox folder called "Is this good?" ? And we literally just put something in there, and then we'll like text each other and be like, "Yeah, you can maybe change this part." Or so I think it's good to have a few people like that, and they need to be people who like love you and want the best for you, but are going to be honest.
Right.
Because I have a lot of people who just be like, "Yeah, it's so good, I love it," but I'm like, "No, tell me what you don't like about it."
No, really. Tell me.
Yeah. Will you listen to this again after I've sent it to you? But, yeah, and sometimes I like test it out with a small pool of people as well. So I'll have a private link that I just send out to my own community and see how it lands there before it goes out public.
That's great. Anyone else? We're coming to the end here, people. Last chance. No. Oh, that's great. My last question for you, just like in closing, you said a lot of amazing, wonderful things. And again, we're so grateful for you to even take this time. But do you have any like closing words of wisdom to a room full of creatives who really want to bring glory and honor to God's kingdom through art?
Oh no, the pressure.
No pressure.
The only thing that's coming to mind right now is one of my favorite passages anyway, but it's John 15, where it talks about the vine and the branches, right? And that's just one of my favorite reminders as an artist that like, I think Jesus says in it, like, apart from me, you can do nothing. It's this very like grounding thing of like, creativity flows from him. Like the only reason we can create is because he made us like him. And that's like when I spoke about Magnify and that slogan we have of helping people create beautiful things for the kingdom, it's that for the kingdom part is probably the key thing we want to get across, is like everything that we're creating is like a branch on this vine of the kingdom of God and just coming out from who Jesus is. And I think when I see it that way, instead of like I'm my own individual plant trying to like thrive and trying to do my best, but no, I'm part of a whole thing that we're all a part of. And it talks about the branch bearing different types of fruit, and some are pruned at times and some are let to grow. And that just really helps me with the comparison thing, where like I don't have to look at a branch and be like, oh, they've got this much fruit and I've got this much, and I need to be going where they're going because that branch that's going that direction's working really well. And just trusting that everything that I'm able to do is because it flows from him. And my job then is to like remain and just stay in Jesus and stay like rooted in him. And then he will flow the creativity through us in however much fruit he wants to do through that branch. And then all of it creates the things that we create for the kingdom. Yeah, I guess just to see your creativity as like part of a whole and not just an individualistic thing. Like it's a community effort and we're all creating together, and what you're creating is as much important as what I'm creating, and we're all doing it for the same God. So yeah.
Amen. Amen to that. We so appreciate you taking the time to join us here at Media Academy, and we hope to collaborate more in the future. That'd be great.
Yeah, would love to.
You guys want to say thank you? You guys, I think you should all just come up to the camera and just wave.
Everyone's very far away.
Oh, there.
Whoa, there we go.
There we go. Belated kisses. You got some kisses from Jacob. There you go.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And
I will.
Yes, Nia's waving from Bulgaria. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. No problem. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.